Hello and welcome. My name is Shrini Kulkarni, a software test consultant based out of Bangalore, India. In next few minutes, I'm going to share with you my views about software testing and the phrase person-dependent process versus process-dependent process or process-dependent testing. You must have heard this phrase many times, mostly from your managers or other business leaders, talking about this process, the activity that these people are doing need to improve, meaning this got to change from person dependent to process dependent activity. Let's understand what they mean when they say process. If you look at the dictionary or if you look at literary meaning of the word process, I'm talking about process as a noun, there could be many interpretations. In computing, process means a task, an executing program that has its own memory and it is running inside a computer, performing a computing activity. In terms of manufacturing or industrial terms, the word process might mean input is fed into an assembly line or a processing unit that undergoes some transformations and an output is produced. If you apply the meaning of the term process to software engineering or software in general, it typically boils down to a set of instructions that are written down mostly and that is handed over to a software engineer. In my case, I'm talking about software tester, who then is going to execute these step-by-step instructions as documented in the process document. Now, when people say that the testing got to move from process dependent, move to process dependent from person dependency, what all they are meaning is that there got to be a process which is documented. The tester follows that process step by step, mostly switching off his brain, and performs the activities and gives the result. Now, why people prefer process over other testers? There are many reasons. There could be many reasons. One important thing that managers worry about in the software engineering, software world is that the knowledge about software, the knowledge about testing is contained in the people's mind. It's in their brain, and they got to use that knowledge, apply that knowledge in their day-to-day work. Now, as people move from one company to other company, people move to pursue their own aspirations. There is a loss of productivity. There is a loss of the work that happens when a person leaves. When a person who is trained or who is knowledgeable in a certain area leaves an organization. Now, to mitigate that risk of losing a knowledge when the person goes out, the typical mitigation plan, the typical solution that managers have found out is let's document everything. Let's put down what a tester does A, B, C, D, E into a document, and once that document is prepared, it's okay. Even if that person leaves, a new person comes in, there is a training factory where you put the person through this training process where he will read the documentation, he will understand what exactly to do. Then we have a factory or an engine running that produces the testers who just are like a robots coming out of a factory who will do exactly same thing. Given the document, they exactly follow things the way it is. Now, while I agree with the manager's notion that they have a problem to manage where as the people move out of the organizations, as people leave, or people move out to other projects, there is a dependency element which is built in here. But the solution that they are proposing, document what the person understands so that that document can be passed on to the next tester, and keep on saying at all avenues and propagate this notion that we prefer process over person, to me is devaluing. To me, it is kind of an insult to a tester or to any person who does the work which has a high degree of intellectual work. So if you go on discussing on these lines, you would notice that though people say that process can help you to some extent, the process can take you to some extent, it's all at the end of the day the human beings, the knowledge of the brain capacity that is contained in an individual that is going to help you to achieve what you want. People still continue to force this notion that we prefer process over people. Now, to take it forward, let's see how the other professions, other areas deal with this so-called loss of people, loss of knowledge, and things like that. Let's say, for example, there are the sports. In sports, you have various sport, football, cricket, and all that. Let's say today, David Beckham or Pele or Maradona decides to retire and move from one club to another club. Will the sports authorities or the managers of that particular team will ask Maradona or Pele to write down what they know in the form of process so that they can hand it over to a new coming person or the replacement? I don't think they do that. Same applies to other sports like cricket. If Sachin Tendulkar today decides to leave company or the group that he works for or the team that he works for, that he plays for, if he decides to say, I leave today and I go and play for some other country or go play out and some other club, will the managers ask, Mr. Sachin, please write down your process so that I can hand it over to somebody who comes in? There is a succession plan that always runs in the professional bodies. If we treat software testing as a profession, if we treat software testing as something that involves a high degree, a high amount of intellectual work, we would understand that process can only help you, guide you to understand what needs to be done at a high level. At the end of the day, it is individual who will do the work, and that individual is at the center of the whole thing. So, in summary, while we talk about process as something that helps software engineers, software testers to do their job effectively, it's okay to think about process and its importance. It's okay to document a part of process to the detail that helps the software professional. What is not desirable is to devalue the human being that performs the task and trivializing the craft by saying we have a process-driven methodology that always guaranteed repeatable, predictable, and well-defined results at all time. This propagates a false notion, and people who are entering our industry, the newbies, or also those people who are in their first few years of the software career, will get a very wrong impression from these ideas, from this kind of ideas, that what all they need to know is only process and everything else is taken care of by the document. So next time when you hear somebody saying we got to move from people dependent setup to a process dependent setup, L at the top of your voice, saying that yes, it is fine, it's okay to have people dependent process, people dependent setup, because at the end of the day it's people who are going to do the job. My message is, please understand, whether you like it or not, software testing is going to be a person dependent activity, and it is going to remain so. I thank all of you for spending time on this talk. Thanks a lot.